since Peter Singer's classic book on animal liberation 40 years ago, people have focused on what we owe animals in virtue of their intrinsic moral status, their ability to feel pain or whatever. But I think we also need to focus on what we might owe them in virtue of our distinctive relationships to them. And in the case of domesticated animals, what is our relationship to them? We have brought them into our society. That's what domestication means. We have taken them out of the wild, bred them to be dependent on us, and incorporated them into our society. And I think justice, therefore, means recognizing that they are members of a shared society with us. We have made them members of a shared society. And so then we need to ask what are the rights of membership for those animals that we have brought into our society. In the human case, the category that we use for acknowledging membership is citizenship. So the way in which we affirm that someone truly is a member of our society is by according them citizenship. So we could ask, then this is what we do in the book, what would it mean? Can we make sense of the idea that domesticated animals are co-citizens of a shared society with us, and what would follow from that? I think it's a different way of getting at the animal rights question, and might generate more positive proposals for justice than if we just focus on the intrinsic.
Well, so before we get to the question of what that would mean, why should that be so, as opposed to saying that if we're thinking about our pets, for example, our relationship to that is like our relationship to our children, but less so, although in some cases more so. And so the relationship is one of paternalism. Now, that's not an acceptable relationship to a co-citizen. It is an acceptable relationship to someone to whom we have a kind of in loco parentis or something relationship. So what's wrong with that?
Yeah. Well, so the category of domesticated animals, as we use it, extends beyond the case of companion animals or pets to also include what we call farm animals or food animals or lab animals.
And obviously you would be opposed to the killing of animals for any reason.
Yeah,
so that's, I mean, obviously you can't be killing co-citizens.
Exactly, yeah. So in our view, justice for domesticated animals isn't reducible to the question of what's an appropriate caring relationship between a guardian and a pet. That's part of it. So parents have obligations to children, but justice for children isn't reducible to parental obligations. They're also societal obligations because they're members of our society and not just members of the family. And that's our story about domesticated animals as well. We need a theory about what duties of care individual guardians have for individual domesticated animals, but we also need a theory about their membership in society generally. So it would include things like, for example, public health insurance. I'm Canadian, so I think that one of the citizenship rights is you should have publicly funded health care. Not everyone.
It'd be good in this country if we could still fail to provide it to people, but actually extend it to domesticated animals. That would be a hell of an achievement. So, of course, Canada, being an unbelievably just society, you're going to be offering health care for animals before we offer it to people.
I'm actually. This is, it's obviously it's a very radical and utopian theory. I think for some people in the animal advocacy movement have been kind of excited by it and are interested in pushing it. I think Canada will actually be the last country. Canada is much worse than the United States on the animal question. If we're going to see real change on the animal question, I think it's going to happen in Europe before Canada and the U.S.
So talk about what it is you think will be the consequence of taking animals seriously in the way that you believe we should.
Yeah. Well, so the core idea, as I say, is that they're members of our society. So what follows from that? One thing that follows from that is that their good is part of the public good. They should be seen as part of the public in whose name the state governs. So we need mechanisms to ensure that their interests are taken into account in public decision-making. There should be duties of protection and provision like health care. But there would also be, for example, things like labor rights, so that if we're using animals, if animals are working alongside us, think about sniffer dogs at an airport or rescue dogs, that I think they should be subject to the same labor rights as the humans they work beside. So there should be maximum working hours in a day or in a week. They should have a disability pension if they get injured. They should have a right to retirement. They should have the right not to work in unsafe conditions and so on. And so that would provide us a way of distinguishing. I think what we want is to find a way of domesticated animals living and working with us, because I think work is part of membership in a shared society, but which enables us to view them as equal members of a shared society rather than a caste group that just exists to serve us. This is from my point of view, this is the fundamental problem in our relations with domesticated animals. We've brought them into our society, but we've brought them in as a caste group to serve us.